Good afternoon, friends. I'm Paul, and welcome to my first impressions of the 22 Major Arcana of the Tarot. Arcana refers to secret mysteries, just like the word arcane refers to secret mysteries understood by a few. The Tarot, dating back to 1400s in Italy, and before that, Egypt and the Middle East, these archetypes that play out in these 22 arcana here are really interesting. And to see them in this small profile format that I've got here is cool because we can check them out in one screen, basically. And in true tarot fashion, I've laid these cards out arbitrarily, not going by the number of the cards. Actually, you know, it only goes up through 21 cards down here with the world, not 22, because the Fool does not take a number. He's 0. La Mat in French. Now this deck here is the Marseilles Deck from Nicholas Conver in 1760. Conver's deck seems to have been an interpretation from the famous Jacques Vivait deck of 1650, nearly 100 years before. The Marseilles deck is highly regarded. Of course, the most famous tarot card deck is the Rider-Waite deck of 1910, which was published in England. However, I'm partial to the older decks, and I find this imagery very interesting. So let's check it out together. So I'm going to start off with this card here. The 2 card is, and again, I'm not going in any order. I just lay these out arbitrarily. That's the magic. That's the vibe we want to have when we're playing with cards, is to just have a very loose experience and let them talk to us rather than the other way around. So this is La Papesse, or the Priestess. There's a lot of Christianity here, as we're going to see. So this is the Priestess. You can see the Christian symbolism, the Bible there, and that's fine. She's a very powerful card from the female perspective, especially. The Hermit. He's got his lantern there, leading his way alone. The Hermit. Single guys, you relate to that? Well, I relate to that. La Force, or strength. Now, this is interesting. This is a motif of St. George and the Dragon. Force having to do with, right here, I mean, this is a very popular medieval motif. And it has to do with the legend of St. George slaying the dragon who demanded human sacrifice. So going back into a pagan kind of mythology and melding into the Christian aesthetic of triumph of good over evil. But regardless, that's strength or force, la force. And the Pope, card 5. Now, in Rider-Waite deck, this is the Hierophant, or spiritual mystic type figure, but in reality, guys, it's the Pope. Okay, that was a revision in history, but just there's your Christian stuff again, as I pointed out. And La Mat being the Fool, in French, La Mat really means dullard or idiot, not so much fool as we might think in an English connotation. We're talking about semantics now. But just so you know that La Mat is more referred to as an idiot, or somebody who's not very intelligent and not just a foolish person. But regardless, you know, the Fool card is interesting, coming from a literature background, especially in Shakespeare's plays. The Fool is often a character of great wisdom, belying their overt naivete. And, you know, it's interesting on this card right here, you can see many things are backwards. For example, the bag with the stick there is on the wrong shoulder. You know, you would be putting it on that shoulder, not this one. And Look at the dog grabbing up into the Fool's privates there. Just, you know, the whole thing is messed up. So that's the Fool. The Magician, or la Bateleur. There's the Magician with his accoutrements. This would have had a connotation also of sleight of hand or trickery. So this card, to me, seems to have a little bit of kind of like shady dealings, but with some talent there, but definitely an edgy quality to La Bateleur. So here's the Sun, which to me, it's card 19, which would just be, you know, I would think would just be this like beautiful, life-giving card. Is kind of weird. There's like these droplets coming off the sun, which almost look like blood. We've got two weird characters, you know, no proportion as far as their bodies, just kind of grotesque, standing on a rock in this like moat with a brick wall around it. Like, you know, they can't get off this rock that they're stuck on, and there's a moat wall around their entire world, and there's the sun bleeding off these drops here. It's very strange. And check out the tail right there where my thumbnail is. You know, that's kind of weird. You know, I was reading about that. It's almost like a devil tail coming out of this person here, and the other one is perhaps showing this person some kind of comfort with the hand on the shoulder. I don't know. Post your comments below, but this is just very strange for La Solier to be just such a weird card. But that's not the only time we're going to see that in this tarot deck. There's a lot of weird iconography going on. The Emperor. Again, there's the Christian symbolism with the cross and the scepter, the eagle, royal. The Emperor, a man of power, politics. The Hanged Man, impending doom or a misfortune. The Hanged Man can also be a martyr symbol, like Jesus. It may also represent someone who gets caught up in earthly turmoil and anguish, challenges, struggles, and succumbs to those. So the Hanged Man is a tragic figure, and it could also be a martyr figure. Along the lines of just really weird artwork in this deck is Le Diable, or the Devil. I won't even describe this in words. It's a very strange card. So the Wheel of Fortune here, La Roue de Fortune, I find interesting because those of you who have seen The Wizard of Oz would recognize the winged monkeys of the Wicked Witch of the West. Well, I'm thinking this is where the winged monkeys came from. The Wheel of Fortune card in the Marseilles deck from 1760. The Death card is not named so. It's card 13, and I think it was bad luck to name the card or something. Notice that there is no name on it. But of course, the Grim Reaper is harvesting souls down there. Pretty grim card, pretty grim iconography and archetypes in that card as well. And the Lovers. This is an interesting card. We've got Cupid with his arrow, of course. And this is interpreted often as two competing women suitors to the man. But I don't really see it that way. I see it more as perhaps a romantic love interest over here, and then somebody over here with almost like these royal kind of olive leaves crown as a voice of discretion or counsel. I don't know. See, this one just seems very intimate with the hand on the heart, young. And this one's with that headdress seems more like of a voice of counsel or reason. But I've also read interpretations that that could be two competing lovers. The Empress, she's got a scepter with a Christian cross there and an eagle, just like the Emperor. Political, powerful male and female figures. We could think of the president. We could think of Nancy Pelosi, for example. You know, power, social power positions. And the Judgment, card 20. Again, Christian iconography right here. And the trumpet coming down from heaven, pretty much. We can see the people down here on earth. Now, Judgment, this card, and again, just to hearken back to the Christian element of the tarot, references to Matthew 24:31 with trumpets, as well as the book of Revelations. And along with that would be the 7 card, or the Chariot. The Chariot's referenced in Ezekiel, describing the throne of God, in Kings, and in Revelations as well. La Maison Dieu, or the House of God. In Genesis, this would be the Tower of Babel. And it's known as the Tower card in modern tarot. But it's a house that's falling apart. It's being struck by lightning. Ostensibly, the tower here is the same as in the book of Genesis, where mankind aspires to reach the heights of God and is struck down. To me, this card represents disarray in state of affairs, personally, relationship-wise, could be career-wise, spiritually. A very active, interesting card with a lot of motion. Remember I was saying that the sun was a strange card, and also I'm going to throw in the stars right here, the sun, moon, and stars. These should really be talked about in a trinity here, because they're all very, very strange, and the La Lune is probably the weirdest card in this whole deck. We have that kind of like bleeding drops coming off the moon's rays, 2 competing wolf-type dogs. There was a legend of, I think, was it Remus or Rebus, about the wolf and the brothers. Some are saying that one of the wolves is actually drinking a drop of the blood coming off the moon. I've just read a lot about this kind of stuff. There's towers in the background. There's a crayfish or a lobster in the pond. It's just very, very strange imagery. And if any of you could lend to this, please post your comments below. The stars card, L'Étoile, features a woman pouring out 2 jugs of water into the river. Some have said that this is Mother Earth pouring out waters from Eden, from archetypal pure waters representing purity. I don't know. She's pouring out 2 jugs of water. La Justice, with the sword of justice and the weights measured, balanced perfectly. The balance of the law. There she is, card 8. How important it is for us to have justice and law in our times. Le Monde is the world. This is a nice card. It's very comprehensive. There's astrological symbols with the animals, the bull, the lion, eagle. And there's the world with her garland sloped casually over her shoulder, traipsing through the world carefree. She's a gal about town, the world. My favorite card, and how I'm going to end this video, is card 14, Temperance, or Temperance. Much like what we just saw with Justice, with the weighted scales in the hand there. You can see that Temperance, and it's also very similar to the Star card, actually, with the jugs pouring into the river. See a very similar symbolism there. But Temperance having to do with equanimity and moderation. She's an angel. That's my favorite card. Thanks for staying with me during this first voyage into the 22 major arcana of the tarot, the Marseilles Deck, dating from 1760, Nicholas Conver. Oh. What came up? There was one behind it too. Or I could go like this. Icarus